There's something interesting happening right now in how we talk about work. We debate remote versus office, flexibility versus structure, what productivity really looks like, and it all feels very new, but it's not. The tension we're experiencing today between how work used to be done and how it needs to be done is something leaders have been navigating for a long time. What's different now is the pace. With AI and rapid technological change, we're being asked to rethink not just where we work, but how we collaborate, and how we trust people to get things done. That's what makes this story from Sandy Hoffman so relevant. She shares a moment when she was tasked with doing something that, at the time, felt almost impossible, sending an entire team home to work remotely. And this was before remote work was even a thing. And what she discovered wasn't just about technology, it was about people. Because the hardest part of change is rarely the systems. It's helping people believe that a new way of working is even possible.
Point, I was in Montreal on assignment, managing a lab that we had up there and a product line, and difficult times. Company said, we need to reduce expenses and eliminate this office in Montreal. We were headquartered in Atlanta. And I was tasked with bringing that entire product line back to Atlanta, and which I did. And then shortly thereafter, um, we were asked to consolidate product lines in the midst of all of that. So there are technical changes happening. And then there's this mandate to close down a facility, but to keep the people. So it was like, how can I retain these individuals who were responsible for a product line and still reduce expenses? So I said, take a look at, we knew that people in Atlanta were having to work from home because of concern about traffic and people being able to get around during a pretty intense time. So the office had done a little bit of work on having people work at home. Now swing way back and remember that nobody worked from home. Everybody came into an office, into your cubicle, and you worked from the office. Dial-up was about all you had. You didn't have homes that had internet installations. And so the thoughts of taking an entire development laboratory to work from home was overwhelming, and working from home was just not done. So the first challenge I faced was trying to figure out the technology behind sending people home. How do you get people, they needed 2 phone lines at home. They needed a workspace at home. How did you take care of things like systems? What computers did they have at home? Was everybody going to lift up these gigantic desktop computers and go home? No developer wants to try and write code on some crappy piece of equipment. So you had to make sure that people had top of the line equipment. But more importantly, and I think this is probably what set the tone for the later imprisonment of being a chief people officer, was you had to convince people that it was okay to work from home. A total change. And I was shocked at the time to find out how many people could not even envision having to work from home. It was distasteful. Aside from the fact that they didn't have a physical place to do that, just the idea of being in your home with your spouse and your kids and managing the day, people were used to an 8 o'clock start time, a 5 o'clock finish time, days over, and all of a sudden, and going out to lunch with everybody and hanging out in the halls and conversing, being around your friends. And now suddenly you're tossed back into your house, which you may or may not like, with a spouse that you may or may not like. And the biggest challenges that I faced through that time was the number of spouses I had calling me saying, please don't send them home. This is disruptive to my life. So the disruption was occurring not just in the workplace, but at home. Those that year spent in trying to shift up how people worked, shutting down that laboratory, setting everybody up in their home offices, was extraordinarily useful. And when I look at today, where we're now trying to force people to come back into the office after having had the luxury of working from home, I can't help but get tickled to think about the reverse situation that now exists. So when I think about challenges that I've faced in my career, that's one that always stands out to me because I didn't have the luxury of being able to speak with other people about how to make this kind of transition happen because it had not happened. There were no businesses that were operating this way. And afterwards, I had any number of technical magazines and whatnot speak with me just about what it was like to execute that because it was so extraordinarily unique at the time. Um,
If you're navigating change right now, whether it's how you work, your role, or your team, this is exactly why I wrote Learn to Love the Roller Coaster. Sandy's story is featured in the book along with others who faced moments like this and came out stronger on the other side. You could buy the book now on Amazon.com and other retailers.